Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to take a look at the CLT version 2 by Infinite. Okay guys, so here's the box that the Infinite comes in. I ordered this from e-cig.com. There you can see it's the CLT version 2, not the version 2 Plus. And by the way, this box is really nice. I don't know what that is, but it almost feels like velvety or something. It's really nice. So let's go ahead and open it up. So we slide the top off, and then we have our package of, got some wicking material in there, and then a bunch of extra O-rings. So that's always a plus. Then we got our notorious little screwdriver here. I believe this is a Delrin drip tip. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that it is. Then inside here we have the actual tank itself. And this has already been used. Obviously I've been using this for probably about a week or so. There's the drip tip. It's got dual O-rings on it. Then here's this one here. I haven't even used this yet. That's how it looks on there. You got these little heat sink bins that keeps this thing from getting hot. So there's the bottom, there's the serial number, Infinite CLT, and this is an original, guys. It's not a clone. This is actually made by Shenzhen Infinite, and there's a version 1, a version 2, which is what this is, and then a version 2 Plus. And I think the version 2 Plus actually has bigger air holes. And those are Cyclops air holes, by the way. I want to kind of get through this really quick so we can go ahead and I'm going to do a coil build on this. I don't want this video to be really long. So let's pull the drip tip off, put that off to the side. Then our top up here. See how that just pulls out, and you got dual O-rings on there. Let's take a quick look at it up close. Then this piece here comes off like that. We'll take a quick look. That's an air hole, Cyclops air hole, another air hole, and then the second Cyclops. And this is laser engraved CLT Infinite. So here is our build deck. And this is the negative posts are one piece. They're milled into the deck itself. And you can see that little hole right there. See that back in there? That actually corresponds to that. And that allows airflow to come in through the sides. You have the same thing over here on the other side. You can see right through that. There you go. And that allows you to get some airflow to come in and go up underneath your coils, because your coils in this are going to be sitting up quite high. So this will allow you to get airflow from both sides and have it underneath the coils, as well as the airflow that will be coming in from the Cyclops air holes. And I haven't had any issues out of this so far at all. Not at all. And this thing is machined very well. It's 22 millimeters in diameter, 510 threading, and this is made of 304 stainless steel. So it has some pretty good weight to it. It's kind of heavy. The screws, I'll show you when we go to do a build on it, but the screws are a little bit small. They may look pretty hefty in this video, but they're actually not. They're really tiny, and they're really short. I think the screws would have been much better, you know what I mean? As always, they're always better when they're longer, but they're still not short enough that it's like a really serious issue or anything like that. That's really my only complaint when it comes to this RDA. Other than that, it functions very well, and it has a really great vape, and it's really simple to build on. Really quick, guys, I wanted to show you here. The 510 on this is definitely adjustable. I have the pin out right here. The reason why I'm thinking about that is because of my simple mod. You don't want to have your battery short out on you. And if you look here, the center post doesn't move. I kind of figured that this might swivel to where you could do, like, you know, some different builds and things like that on there. But it doesn't. It's actually really sturdy and in place, and I can't turn it whatsoever. So you just replace your pin and then take a flathead screwdriver and screw it back in. And that's all the way tight right there. So if you need to adjust this out, so for example, something about like that right there, just in case you're going to be using this on a simple mod or like a 4.9 or something like that, and you need to adjust out your 510 connector, that shows you right there that you absolutely can do that. And the center part of the build deck will stay right where it's at. Let's go ahead and pop this onto my vaporware ohm reader and let's do a build on it. Okay, so let's come in here first and take these loose. And I actually prefer this with a single coil, but the way that this barrel is actually made, you pretty much have to do dual coil. I mean, if you look right here, we only have 2 slots cut out on this, so that makes this function a lot better as dual coil. Single coil, you're getting airflow from both sides. It's not a deal breaker or anything like that, but I'm pretty much a single coil guy. For this video, we're going to do a dual coil. I think I'm going to use dual 26 gauge for this one. So for this build, I'm going to be using this right here. You see that? And that comes out of a kit like this. And I picked this up at, I think it was a computer store, but you can get these online anywhere. And this is the equivalent of basically a 7/64. And I have this little thing here, which I found in the garage. I don't exactly remember getting it, but I have it. So I pop this down in there and you can see, if you can make it out on there, it's roughly a 7/64. There's a little tiny bit of wiggle room in there, but close enough for me. So I'm going to be wrapping around this. I'll wrap one coil on camera, and then I'll wrap the other one off camera to save time. So all I'm going to do is just lay it across here just like that. You can see how I'm holding that. And I'm just going to go ahead and proceed to wrap this as close as I can, but it don't have to be perfect or anything like that. And I need to count my wraps. I got 5. And I'm fairly new to using 26 gauge kanthal. I normally use 28 gauge, and then since over the last couple of months I normally use 24. Okay, so we have 7 wraps right now. 8, 9, 10. I'm going to do 10 wraps with 26 gauge. Or actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do 10 wraps, 26 gauge. I don't want this super, super low. I don't like a really extremely hot vape. So let me just straighten this up, and what I'm going to do is just push this whole entire thing against the end of that. And by no means is this, you know, the be-all, end-all way of wrapping coils. You can do it however you want to. But this is what we have so far. I like to grab the ends of these too and just kind of pull them to stretch out that wire, and then just kind of bend back on them legs. And then this is what we have for our first coil. So we got 10 wraps, and I'll even go ahead, I'm going to make 2 of these exactly the same. But I'll even go ahead here really quick and show you what else I'm going to do. I'm going to torch this. And I've got a little butane torch here. It's a benzomatic and that's what I use, but you can use a lighter or, you know, whatever you have. And I'm just going to take this coil like that, take a pair of tweezers. You want to kind of get it between those legs and straighten the coil as much as you can. It's not perfect or anything like that. And then we're just going to hold this like this and we're going to torch it. And you just want to do this until it's glowing red hot. Do the legs as well. And what this is going to do is stiffen this coil up and make it a lot easier to handle when we're installing it. And that should pretty much do it. And then while you have it like this, be careful because the legs are really hot, but you can actually pull these down and bend them into place where you want them. And then once it's cooled, pull it off of there, and then here's our coil. So it's not fantastic, but it's not horrific either. It's not a bad looking coil. So I'm going to build another one exactly like this, and then we'll go ahead and install them. Okay guys, so here's our two coils. So let's go ahead and install these. Okay, so what we're going to attempt to do here is we're going to put one leg in here in the negative, and then another leg over here in this positive, and then vice versa on the other side. Okay, one will go here and one will go here, except on the opposite side. And the reason why I'm going to do that is so I can try to center this build as best I possibly can. And that's why I left these legs a little long. They're not really long. This one right here, I don't know if you can tell on camera, it's probably about an inch long. So it's not like extremely long or anything. I'm going to take and put my little star tool in there before it's tightened down and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to get this where I want it. I'm just going to kind of push it over a little bit. I don't know if you can see that or not, but I just kind of pushed it over just a little. Now I'm going to put my finger right there, and I'm going to tighten down this negative lead. Now let me see where my coil is actually sitting. And it actually looks like it's sitting in a fairly good spot here. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten down my positive lead. And we can come back and straighten this and all that kind of stuff later on. I'm just trying to get these in place for right now. So I'm going to pull these leads up and get them out of my way. There's our first coil. Now let's do the second. Same thing on this side. And we're going to be going through the same exact holes, except on the opposite side. So that one. So you see the holes that I went through there, and then here's what's happening on the other side. I put that through at an angle. I don't know if you can see that or not. See how it's up above that coil right there? Okay, so now as we actually push that coil in, it's not going to be getting stuck on the other side here or nothing. Okay, so now I have that right there. Now I'm just going to take and just shove it over a little bit. See how I did that? Now I can go ahead and tighten down this lead here. And we can go ahead and just make sure all these are pretty much snugged up. And now what I'm going to do with this, I need to see where my Cyclops hole is going to sit at. So when you're building on this CLT, your coil should come up like that. See how that's sitting? So the same thing on this opposite side. Coil should be sitting high. Okay, so once we have our coils where we want them, the next thing we need to do, clip off these leads. We want to get these as close as we possibly can. On the Sigelli 100 watt, we have it at 55 watts. And now what we're going to do is pulse this button, which needs to do that, okay? Only not quite that fast. And we're just going to heat these coils up, and I'm going to let's go ahead and get with it. And I'm going to pinch these with some needle nose pliers. But I mean just barely. Really quick on that one. Let's go over to this side. Okay, so we're just going to rake right across the top of these. And what that does is gets out any hot spots, and this should be pretty good right here. Let's go ahead and give it a fire. There you go. So they're pretty straight. These coils sit fairly high, as you can tell. Could probably straighten that one just a little bit more. It ain't got to be perfect, but I'm a little anal about this stuff. Check, make sure that everything's good and tight. Not overly tight because you don't want to break the leads off. And time to wick this up. Okay, so to wick this, I'm going to be using organic Japanese cotton once again, like I've been using in all my builds here lately. So we got our this bag of cotton is just like going on and on and on and on. But you can see at the time, I've made a lot of coils out of this. Don't let this full bag fool you, man, because I've made a bunch of coils out of it. And I've wicked a lot of coils out of it, and I'm using the little squares just like this. All I'm doing with these is just cutting off a couple of strips. Normally it's one because I normally vape a single coil, but in this case we're doing a dual coil, and then I'll take that, and that's good enough to do another dual coil if I want. So then I'm left with these two little strips, and just like in my last few builds, I pull off that layer. I don't like it. You don't have to do that, but I just choose to do it. It's a preference. The outer layer on the top and bottom is a little thicker than the rest of the cotton, and it gives it a different taste. So I'm not going to bore you guys with this entire wicking procedure. This video is already long enough, so I'll just wick one side here. Okay, then all I'm going to do with this is what you've seen in many other videos, including my own. So I cut this off the way that I want it, pull that back through just a little bit. Then I'm just going to take my little screwdriver here, since this coil sits up so high. You still fold it under and tuck it back under, tuck it in on itself. And then the same thing over here on this side. I leave that little gap in there, and that allows air to go underneath the coil. So I'm getting air all the way around it, so you can see my hand on the other side. Okay, so there we go. We got it all wicked up. White label strawberry custard. This stuff is just tasting fantastic. It's really strong, and I don't taste any strawberry in this at this point. I've had this for well over a month now, and I'm about halfway through the bottle. And it's a really strong custard vape at this point. So I only vape, a little bit of it. It's about all I can handle, and then I vape some other stuff. But for this particular build, that's where I'm going with it. And it's got a really nice color to it. And the custard flavor is, wow. I think that is sufficiently saturated. Let's go ahead and give it a fire. Yeah. As you can see, that is one seriously angry coil, guys. So this thing is probably going to vape like a beast. When using a mod like the simple mod, like this one by A-Mod, your 510 has direct contact with the top of the battery. So you want to make sure that 510 pin is sticking out sufficient enough to touch the battery. As you can see, that's just kind of barely sticking out. I can adjust that out. So as you can see, mine is actually sticking down far enough to make contact with the top of the battery. And the reason why you want to make sure that 510 pin in the bottom is making contact with the top of the battery is because you don't want your device to short out. That would not be good. This is a 0.71 build with 10 rats, 26 gauge kanthal, around a 7/64 drill bit, or the equivalent, which was actually that little thing right there. And let's give this a vape on the simple mod and see what kind of vapor production we get and what kind of vape it is. Okay, so immediately I can tell you that it's taking a minute to heat those coils up because it's a dual coil, 10 rats, 26 gauge, and 0.071 ohms. Okay guys, so this build became substantially longer than I actually wanted it to be, but there you go. There's a dual coil build on the Infinite CLT version 2. So until next time, take care and happy vaping.